Alistair, how did you find getting your tongue around some of those names?
With a lot of help. There's a translation in the office because a lot of the trainers are Arabic and only speak Arabic. I worked in the office that basically was akin to the bureau and the NHA combined. So I had all the stewards, the vets, all in the office with me, and then also guys that captured all the information for race day. So because a lot of the girls and guys there were speaking Arabic to the trainers, their fluency was, went to them when the fields were delivered on a Tuesday, and writing out all these names phonetically and the night before going through them all. I had no idea about form when it came to races at Al Ain, Abu Dhabi and Sharjah. Just a matter of getting the names right.
Welcome to another edition of In the Box Seat with myself, Warren Lenferner, and of course Andrew Harrison, my bushy-haired friend to the right. And what's happening now, before I introduce our good friend and guest, it's good technology to be able to talk to people via Zoom, etc., but we're missing out on those one-on-one discussions with our guests and our scrumptious breakfast at the Summerfeld Clubhouse.
Yeah, I know. I thought we were going to the clubhouse, but no, I had to buy a pie.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome to our podcast today, as I said, a very special friend and a very good friend and colleague of the racing industry and of ours, none other than the voice, Alistair Cohen. Ali, how are you today?
Yeah, Warren, lovely to finally be on your podcast. It's long overdue. I've been a big fan since you guys have started doing the podcast. I must confess, although it's great to be home here in Johannesburg, the idea of having a nice breakfast at Summerfeld is very appealing, but maybe we'll have to do episode 2 in the not so distant future during champion season.
Yeah, that could certainly work, because I'm sure your good wife will be bringing a few horses to contest in some of these feature races. So no doubt we'll see you, and hopefully you'll be doing some work with us too going into the season.
Yeah, I hope so. Just for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have my feet up and let time pass and get over a few things. But I'm hoping to do a little bit of freelancing, and we'll see where the wind takes us. I think the more I travel, the better it will be. Obviously, commentating would be priority number one. But where I can't be commentating, I'm more than happy to be next to you boys and next to various other presenters around the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we go any further, Tawanda Taravinga, who everybody knows, and we're talking about hairstyles, and Tawanda shows us that he's been to the barber. Just turn your head slightly.
Yeah.
And it's called a fade. You see bushy on top, and it fades into this baldness. Now, the team, thank you. The team have told us that I've got the reverse fade, because here it starts bushiness and ends at the top. Not a bad hairstyle, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I go to the same place, obviously. Yes. I'm totally gone, but I'm happy with this. To be fair, I spent a lot of time at the barber in Dubai, mainly just to pass a bit of time. I'd like to see your colleague there, Andrew Harrison, try and pull off a fade. I don't know if anyone would recognize him.
No, I only go for a shearing twice a year.
I mean, he's double our age. He's double our age, and he's got a magnificent head of hair.
I don't think Andrew's in his hundreds yet, Warren.
Because Warren's got too many U-turns under the sheet. That's why he's going.
That's what he says. He says that's bald oaks, too many U-turns under the sheets, eh?
Yeah, I know, but it's all good and well, and it's sadly we follically challenged. There's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ali, let's get into the nitty-gritty and talk about. I asked the question to everybody. We want to talk about your Dubai experience mainly, and obviously plans for the future and recent married life and all that goes with it. But for those that might not know you well enough or have heard the story, how did it all start for you? How did you hear about horse racing? How did you know about this wonderful sport?
No, it started about 400 meters up the road from where you are right now, from Greyville Racecourse, and a block of flats on Cowie Road. Obviously, there were my parents, and my dad, being a 10 rand place accumulator punter, he tends to turn up at Hollywood Bets Greyville from time to time, even to this day. And night racing had just sort of been established. The first race meeting that I vividly remember was London News running in the Champions Stakes, which he didn't win. And that was before he went over to Hong Kong. So that was the first meeting meeting that I really remember. But obviously, I had been going with my father a few times before that. Funny enough, went with Tyson Heffer, who's Owen Heffer's youngest son. We have many great memories. We were in nappies, but weirdly enough, I always used to look up into the sky and say, that guy who's talking, I wouldn't mind being him one day. And at the time was Craig Peters and Eric Denman. So I had an ear for those guys. I had an ear for Clyde Basil and Johan Malherbe, who are obviously the established commentators on the Halfvelds in Cape Town at the time. And I just thought that would be a cool job and following to pursue. And as time went on, I was putting the TV on mute, commentating races, not really getting it right, but, just sort of getting into some sort of patter. And when I was 12 years old, Andrew will probably remember, when I was 12 years old at the now sadly defunct Clarewood Racecourse, there was a commentators competition. Colin Aitken was the man, one of the heads of Gold Circle at the time, and I sent through my tape of a race at Turfentine in the dead of winter. And I remember my dad sort of pulling me aside saying, "You've made the cut. You're going to be commentating into a tape recorder, but through binoculars at Clarewood on the 10th of August 2003 when I was 12 years old." And that's how it all started. It took 7 years to call my first live race, which happened at Flamingo Park on the 16th of August 2010. So it was a long haul of cutting my teeth. Did it take me 7 years to get ready? No. There were a few doubts whether I ended up wanting to pursue it or not after waiting that long. I could have pursued just about any other better paying profession than being a race commentator, but thankfully it's all worked out in the end.
So, Alistair, I remember that you practicing here at Greyville with your mom and dad following you around all the way. Well, we used to give them a cup of tea and a few sandwiches while you were busy. So I remember those days very clearly.
Yeah, good old days up in the press room with yourself and Jack Ramsey, and always sneaking in, listening to whatever you guys, any tidbit of information, any bit of knowledge that I could pick up from you or Mr. Ramsey back in those days. Those were good times and simpler times as well.
Yeah, simpler times, you're quite right.
Yeah, I know, but we used to get good food in those days.
Now, talking of family, your mom and dad, Andrew was actually just saying, Candace is mom and dad, and Candace's parents you know quite well. Tell us about your association with them.
Well, I know Corin and Jimmy. Yeah, I think Jimmy passed away about a year ago. Jimmy and I were
just in regular.
Yeah, we used to drink a lot in the Fox and Hound in Maritzburg. I knew Jimmy quite and Corin quite well. Yeah, I didn't know Candace and the girls very much.
Recently you married Candace. Well, we all know she's a horsewoman of the highest order, and she runs a very successful stable. She's got able assistants. Tell us a bit about that. Firstly, how's married life treating you, and Candace's plans, and please God, we'll see her and some horses in the province for the big races.
Yeah, I'm sure that you'll see a lot of Candace during the winter. She's got a nice string of babies. Obviously, the talking will be done on the track, but hopefully that all goes according to plan. And then some established older horses that might be knocking around at Group 2, Group 3 level. So touch wood, that all goes according to plan. But yeah, with regard to marriage life, I don't really have an excuse of being a seasonal husband anymore. But yeah, married life is good. It happened on the 9th of August last year. But it's 6 months away from Candace is tough, but now she's got to deal with me a lot more permanently going forward.
That's a tough part, yeah.
and Alistair said, when we were doing this podcast, because we're all animal lovers, I said, well, what's good in the work riders race? He said, I can't tip you a winner in the work riders race, but what I can guarantee you is that there'll be dogs barking during the recording of this, and it's just arrived. The dogs started barking.
Yeah, absolutely. No, one of the 5 dogs that we have is one of Candace's able assistants. Comes to work every day, watches all the horses work. And just really gets in the way and turns the office upside down.
Now, let's talk about, and don't stress about if the dogs are barking. I mean, it's our podcast. We always try and be relaxed, and it's just a general chit chat, really. And we're trying to obviously keep it as neat and tight as possible. But if dogs are barking and things are happening, don't stress. It's not an issue at all. But Dubai, I suppose we could sit here for hours talking about Dubai, but let's talk about that, because you went there for your second season, and and it ended quite abruptly. And yeah, you put out a beautiful press release. And did you see Alistair's press release?
Yeah, I read it. I thought you were very kind.
Andrew thought you were very kind, you're very professional, and yeah, just tell us about it. Let's start off with your first year when you went, how you got to get into Dubai, and just tell us a bit about the Dubai journey, really.
So it all started on the Monday before the Gold Cup of 2021, when I got approached, funny enough, by Richard Hoyle saying, Dubai are looking for a new commentator and they're interested in you. Would you indulge in an interview with them? So I said, well, absolutely. That would. I'm surprised that they're as far-reaching as South Africa, with obviously Mark de Kock not being as evident as he was. I thought, and also with the export protocols, I thought maybe South Africa would be on the back burner in Dubai's minds. But I had an interview with the chief steward, Sam Shinsky, who's one of the most brilliant people I've ever come across, and he's one of a few people that I'm very sad to have left behind. And had the interview, and it wasn't my first international interview, but it was the first time where I finished off an interview thinking, I've nailed that. I wonder who else is in the running. And it happened about 2 months later, where they came to me with an offer, and it was a no-brainer. It was one of those, if you say no, you'd regret it for the rest of your life. And the first season, I mean, the first meeting I did was at Jebel Ali, and every racetrack's got such different quirks and characteristics. Jebel Ali's commentary box, English commentary box, is in a hut about 150 meters before the line. So it's a different grandstand at Jebel Ali. So I mean, that was the first evidence of what I was in for. Abu Dhabi commentate from the top of a flight of steps. Sharjah, nice little commentary box. But then your problem is there wouldn't be room for two of us. Elaine, sort of in a head-on tower with the stops with their binoculars hanging over you. And then obviously you get Maidan, which is absolutely incredible. Level 6 on the finish line. It can't get any better. No obstructions, no one near you. You just really have the world in front of you at Maidan. So, I mean, those are just different quirks and characteristics, and getting to know all the different race courses. And the first season was great. The hotel that everybody was in was world class. Season 1 was good, and I hate to say it, season 2 felt different from day one.
One of the highlights of your career was your first season in Dubai. Did we get that correct?
No, just the Dubai World Cup itself. I mean, every other race meeting, all the small domestic race meetings, they'd be like, Vaal on a Thursday, Hollywood Bet Scottsville on a Wednesday, or a Polytrack meeting on a Monday. They're great. But there is nothing like the Dubai World Cup. There is nothing like the Hollywood Bets Durban July. So that's just the cherry on the top. That was by far the highlight. So take away season 1, which was fantastic. A million levels above was just that Dubai World Cup 2022, and being honoured to be able to call the action.
Alistair, how did you find getting your tongue around some of those names?
With a lot of help. There's a translation in the office, because a lot of the trainers are Arabic and only speak Arabic. I worked in the office that basically was akin to the bureau and the NHA combined. So I had all the stewards, the vets, all in the office with me, and then also guys that captured all the information for race day. So because a lot of the girls and guys there were speaking Arabic to the trainers, their fluency was, went to them when the fields were delivered on a Tuesday, and writing out all these names phonetically, and the night before going through them all. I had no idea about form when it came to races at Elaine, Abu Dhabi, and Sharjah. Just a matter of getting the names right.
Okay.
But and he didn't miss a beat, eh?
No.
He didn't miss a beat. From the first horse to the last horse, never missed a beat. And there were some names that were real tongue twisters. But let's now go into your second season. You say right from the beginning it never really felt right. Tell us why.
Yeah. It just, the hotel on day one, arriving into a hotel that was half as good, clearly half the price. Quite a few members of staff there that, although very happy, sort of taking on different roles that perhaps didn't quite fit. It felt a little bit different. There were just a whole lot of aspects that didn't quite sit well. But to be fair, from a pure commentating perspective, I hit the ground running a lot sooner, which was probably natural. I came back to South Africa over Christmas, and I don't know, just getting back there, it felt like I was viewed a little bit differently. little did I know what would happen, but it just felt like, any type of impression I'd made, and not that coming back was a mistake. I had a blessing of coming back. It wasn't like I went back and didn't tell anybody. Everyone said, that's sweet. You got a week, so enjoy it. But just at the start of the carnival, there were a few positional changes up above me, and I guess those guys didn't like me quite as much.
Now they're probably looking. I was thinking that the bloke who's taking over on World Cup night, I mean, he called the Breeders' Cup. Yeah, so he's probably more high profile than you. That's probably what they were looking for. But the way they did it wasn't great.
Yeah, I mean, last Monday, what was that? The 6th of March. Turned up at the office without a clue what was going to happen. It was their intention not to tell a crazy whirlwind, because you and Rishi Prasad chemistry, like I've never really experienced with another presenter, is just completely unique and natural. And I thought, and I said to the person who told me, I said, that will be the best draw that the Dubai World Cup has ever staged. It will, be unscripted and just, off the cuff and exactly what you need it to be. And 2 weeks later, everything came crumbling down. So, yeah, as you say, probably was more of a high profile thing. From a European perspective, I'm not too sure that European viewers are going to turn on Dubai World Cup and be of the same opinion. Certainly the Americans will. But, there was such a small group of people who knew what was going on. And of that small group, I still don't believe that any of those would know the difference between Francois Wolford commentating in Afrikaans and Larry Colmus commentating a Breeders' Cup in English. I don't think they'd be able to distinguish a difference. So there is someone, I don't know who, there is someone who I believe put it into their heads that was a good idea. And you know what? Good luck to them. But had they told me a month earlier, it might have been a little bit easier to take, rather than, behind my back after Super Saturday. And you guys know, Andrew, when you write an article and you've written your first line, you tear your hair out thinking, this is not going to be my best. And Warren, being a presenter as well, you leave the racecourse knowing that wasn't quite my best. And you also know when you've written that first line saying, oh, geez, I've got everyone in here. And you also know when you leave the racecourse, I've done a good job today. It's the same for a commentator. I walked out on Super Saturday thinking, that's a 9 out of 10. I nearly smashed that out the park. That was good. And I got a lot of praise from around the world for it. And obviously the decision had already been made.
But there's a lot of American horses running in the World Cup. So that's probably also another factor against you, basically.
At the time when they touched base, I think the only American horse that was confirmed was Country Grammar. Whether Larry Colmus's presence commentating the Dubai World Cup has added a few American names to the hat, I don't know. Maybe I'll find out soon enough. But at the time, I don't think that was a consideration.
Okay.
And Ali, being the gentleman that you are, that you dealt this blow, and well, you thought, well, I'm out of here. I'll go home, and you just, as you say, take it on the chin. Of course, it takes a long time to accept that and to absorb all that, but you thought, well, I've been given a lemon and I'm going to make lemonade, because you said, I'm out of here and I'm going home to my family and to a place where you well respected and well loved. And I just want to ask the team to double check if you can. Are you still with us? Because it's the signal is a little bit of an issue here. Are you heard that question? Okay, all thumbs up. So yeah, you took it on the chin and you're back home.
Yeah, so two aspects to that. First of all, the support I got from commentators around the world has been overwhelming. Richard Hoyle's done very well, so but I've got messages from a lot of the guys in the United Kingdom reached out, and even one of the guys in Hong Kong sent me a message. I had to know that they would have all done the same plans, just with the taken away from you. There was no way that I was going to stand for that any longer. Whether it's their loss, whether it's my mistake, I don't know. I suppose I'll find out in the future. There was rather a lingering doubt whether that's going to compromise any hope that I got of international gigs in the future. But it certainly sounds like, and through the connections I made in Dubai, that I've done the right thing.
Yeah, well, you've handled it quite well. You haven't slated anybody, so that's hats off to you. Because I know a few other blokes would have thrown.
I'm restraining myself right now for what it's.
Yeah, but I certainly don't think you need to fear, that it would affect you, internationally. I mean, your work speaks for itself. You're a likable person, and yeah, I don't think so. I mean, the whole world stage can see what you've done. They can see what's materialized. They're not mugs. But as you say, you always worry a little that as you say, you've done what you've had to do, which is for the best interest of yourself and your family. For now, you're back home, and I have no doubt that if an international opportunity came up again, this is what's happened in Dubai. Certainly, well, it's my opinion. Certainly wouldn't interfere with. You've done nothing wrong.
No, thanks, Andrew and Warren. That's very kind of you. Just like I said, the fact that it was just taken away from me at the 11th hour, leaving the family, the fact that in my contract it said that employed to commentate all United Arab Emirates race meetings between the 27th of April, or rather 27th of October and the 7th of April. So, I suppose they thought maybe they could get away with one day. It just happened to be the main day. And the parting shot was, well, we'll find something else for you to do on Dubai World Cup Day. I said, I came here to be a commentator. I didn't come here to do anything else. And obviously presenting wasn't one of those, because Racing TV had already employed their guys for World Cup Day. So, I wasn't going to be a spectator in the crowd.
No. Well, I hope you got remunerated for your for your termination of your contract.
Yeah, that's something that's still going on. I mean, it's put it like this: I'm waiting for the payment to come through.
Yeah, sure, unbelievable. Well,
so, Alistair, what does the future hold at the moment? Do you have any plans, or what's the story?
Well, all operators have reached out. Here we go again. All operators have reached out to me. I'm keen to freelance for the immediate future. I think that being able to add whatever expertise I've got. If someone doesn't think I've got the expertise, well then that's obviously a subjective matter of opinion. But I'd like to get around, do as much as I possibly can, add where I can, and hopefully bring the bridge between all the operators a lot closer. I like to think that I've got the connections around Cape Racing, 4 Racing, and Gold Circle. I do believe that South African racing, from what I've seen, has got an unbelievable foundation. Everything from the bottom up, from the breeding ground to the window that we got of live racing, I believe is a product that is right up there with the best in the world, perhaps bar Australia, Hong Kong, and Japan. I really think that South African racing has got so much going for it. But I gave the analogy a couple of weeks ago. If boardroom politics in South Africa are what they are, please believe me, Dubai boardroom politics is at a Group 1 level. South African boardroom politics is probably an MR80 level.
That's interesting.
It's a matter of ironing all those out and being able to get onto the same page. I think is very, very important, because I don't believe for 1 second South African racing is ever going to die. All you need is 2 horses to race against each other, and we've got something to talk about, something to watch. I do believe that the foundations are there. I do believe that there's so much that can be built on, and whether it's for 6 months or whether it's for 6 years, I like to be a part of the ultimate vision and getting. It's not getting everything back on track. It's just sort of pointing something in the right direction and getting to where we need to.
That's a wonderful, beautifully answered.
Yeah.
Very nice. Please God, everyone's listening and taking notice. Then I wanted to ask you, with regards to commentating, what are your preparations? I mean, and I know some questions we ask are maybe people that watch might say, well, we know that, we've heard it before, but there's a lot of people that might not know. That's why I'm asking again. But what are your preparations into a race day? I mean, do you have any superstitions? Are you chilled? How do you tee up a race day that you're going to go and commentate? Whether it be a lowly rated handicap day at Turffontein or the Dubai World Cup?
Okay, well, so let's answer that backwards. Funny enough, the bigger races are far easier to call than the fillies and mares 66s, wherever they may be, because generally fillies and mares 66s are big fields with horses that could be absolutely anything. Whereas for a Grade 1 day, you know when the nominations come out, you know when the final fields are, you know who the draws are, and everybody's talking about it. So it's in your face. For big race days, they are a lot easier to prepare for than a Thursday Val meeting or a Monday Hollywood Bets Gravel Poly meeting, whatever the case may be, despite the smaller fields that KZN is currently experiencing. For me, the biggest preparation is done on the way down to the start. It's not the first time that I look at the horses. It's not the first time that I go through the colours or study the form or whatever the case may be. But for me, that's the most important part, just to get a gauge of the well-being, just to sort of jig the memory of who's who in the zoo. It does get a little bit more challenging, for example, when hypothetically Suzette Viljoen's got more than one runner in the race, and you've got a cap to try and distinguish who's who in the zoo. Or, taking Suzette again, when she's got so many horses that could all be of a similar level. So say she's got 10 fillies or mares that are rated sort of between 80 or 90, all based on the half vault. A race of that type of standing could cater for any one of those 10 horses. So that's when the challenges come in for me. But when the card comes out, the first person to download the computer form, go through it there, and if I am working, print the computer form at the earliest convenience. But go through it, page through it as often as I can whenever there's a little bit of downtime, sort of in between races while you guys are busy at Hollywood Bet Scottsville. So if I was commentating at Turfentine on this Thursday that we're doing the show between races, Hollywood Bet Scottsville, I'll page through the card and see what's going on just in a little bit of downtime. But for me, the main part of preparation is between Cancer Past and race starting, because that's when you really lock in, go through the binoculars, Warren Linferno, Andrew Harrison, whatever the case may be. So that's when you really lock it in.
Okay. And any superstitions?
I'll tell you no. My wife will tell you I'm an absolute nut job. I don't know if OCD and superstition I know you're OCD, Warren. I don't know if OCD and superstition come into the same category. I am totally OCD. I count my socks every morning. I've got 69, and that is not an intentional number of socks, but I've got 69 pairs of socks that I count every morning. My cupboard's color coded. Candace is not.
Jeez.
I count all my sort of valuable things that I need to get through life. So cell phone, keys, car keys, charger. I write down notes all the time. So diary, pens, binoculars. I always make sure that they're in the same place all the time. I say it's OCD and not superstition, though, because there are not many mornings that go by where I don't do it, and I haven't had a bad day from not doing it in the past, but it's just my way of kicking off my day, so to speak.
Yeah, that's my favorite, is to go to Warren's office and fiddle around in his desk.
I am OCD.
But does Warren notice when a pen's out of place?
No, I don't. Don't upset my pens. All the nibs. If you go into I carry a little case or rucksack or whatever you want to call it, and I've got about 8 pens in there. All the nibs must be pointing in the right direction, so you can't have one pen this way, another pen that way, another. It must all be in the same direction. Understand?
That's why I like turning them around. Yeah.
Or a curse. But do you pack your bag the same way? So do you make sure, for example, my cell phone and my wallet, I probably shouldn't be revealing this, are always in the same pocket. My keys are always in a different pocket. And when I pack my bag, if I'm going to the races, the binoculars are always in first, the race cards in second, the diaries in third, and they all in the middle compartments. And then in the side pocket, we'll always have my pens and my charger.
You and I must be related.
I'm not proud of that, for what it's worth.
And on the odd occasion when I've got some money in my wallet, all the notes must be, you can't have 50s, 20s, and must all be, well, there we go. That's what it's called, yeah. And the team behind the scenes
I won money on the golf course on yesterday, so there were a few 10 and 20 rand notes that were going around, and there I was putting them all in the same pile, and everyone looking at me thinking I'm totally mad, but they will never know. They will never be successful.
Ali, yeah, that's an interesting story, but we out of Zoom time, but we also don't want to take up we just wanted to touch base. There will be a part 2, because when you're in Durban, we'll meet at the clubhouse, have a lovely breakfast, and we'll do another one. I know that the signal sometimes with load shedding is a bit of an issue, but that's okay. We just wanted to touch base. We'll elaborate more. We'll talk more about your stories when we see you in person. We'll have a lovely podcast, a good hour together. But for now, we just wanted to touch base. We wanted to hear your story. We wanted to hear why you left Dubai. And we just want to wish you well and touch base and welcome you back. And there will definitely be a part 2, without a doubt.
Yep, looking forward to that, Warren. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. And like I said, I enjoy watching your podcast. Andrew, thanks so much. It's great to see you, and looking forward to part 2 and seeing you guys down in Durban soon.
You know where he's going. It's great to see you. He always moans. He says nobody watches our podcast. He's forgotten that it's an Equus award-winning podcast, this whole team of us.
Yeah, we still haven't seen the trophy, though.
I've sold the trophy. I had to get out of it. Okay. But he moans and groans. He's going to the Seychelles on holiday. How's that?
Well, that's where the trophy went. You can take a little bit of credit for selling it, but I've got a feeling it might have been a team effort. Andrew's playing dumb. He's a good liar.
Ali, all the best to you and Candice and the whole family, and of course the little fur babies. We look forward to hearing you soon over the loudspeakers and part of the team, because as you say, everyone's part of the team, and we look forward to it. Enjoy your rest, and make sure you get the cash that's owed to you.
Yeah. No, cheers, guys. Thanks so much for having me on, and looking forward to doing it all again.
No, thanks, Ali. All the best.
Good, Ali. Enjoy your lunch.
Cheers. Have a good lunch.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, so that's a lovely chat with Alistair. And I was just wanted to say that the team will sort out. There may be a few little signal issues, but we got the gist of what he was saying, that he's back, and he gave us the sort of the story. But I look forward to having Alistair at Summerfeld when we're doing a proper recording.
I'd like to catch up nicely.
And hear the exact full story. But he told they were just a bit dirty.
They were. I thought it was a very backstabbing bastards.
So anyway, that's
what I say. He was actually very nice about
very
it.
Very polite and nice, absolutely. But it was lovely to chat to him. So that's racing, of course, this weekend. We had Hollywood Bet Scottsville. Plenty of racing action. But for today's podcast, we just wanted to touch base with Alistair. We've done that, and we look forward to it, and we will let you know when it is part 2. But that's a wrap from all of us. For now, we'll chat later, and as always, we'll see you in the number 1 box. Thank you for watching this week's episode of In the Box Seat podcast right until the very end. And we hope that you enjoyed it, because we certainly did. If you missed last week's podcast, In the Box Seat podcast with Andrew and myself, please go and watch it here. And last week's episode will be right there for you to go and enjoy and watch, as we know you will certainly enjoy In the Box Seat podcast from last week.